So, you ever wonder what happens when a super delicate French dish makes its way over to America? Does it even survive the trip or does it turn into something completely new? Well, today we're going to dive right into that. We're talking about the pretty amazing journey of how classic French food gets totally reinvented when it crosses the ocean.
And, the legendary Julia Child really said it best. This whole what the hell attitude, it's not just a secret ingredient for us home cooks, it's kind of a secret sauce for how a whole culture thinks about food. It's that exact spirit of just going for it that opens the door for the kinds of wild changes we're about to get into.
Okay, look at this. This just nails the point right out of the gate. So, on one side, you've got your classic French onion soup. It's delicate, it's balanced, super elegant. Then you look at its American cousin, and it's bold, it's hearty, and it is just piled high with cheese. I mean, they've got the same name, sure, but they are telling two totally different stories. So how in the world do you get from point A to point B?
To really get the change, we have to first understand the original, right? So let's lay the groundwork. Let's talk about the core philosophy that's been guiding French cooking for, well, centuries.
It all kicks off with this idea called terroir. Now, this is the concept that a food's real character is completely tied to where it came from. The soil, the weather, the local way of doing things. It's the reason true champagne can only come from Champagne, France. It's like believing in a kind of culinary fingerprint that can't be copied. And holding up that philosophy of terroir are these four big pillars. First, it's all about mastering the technique. That's everything. Second, there's a huge focus on balance and subtlety, where flavors are supposed to work together, not fight each other. Third, a massive respect for tradition, for recipes that have been perfected for generations. And last but not least, a total reliance on the absolute best quality of ingredients. Because when things are simple, they have to be perfect. All right, so now imagine taking those super protected recipes and sending them across an entire ocean. They land and immediately run into a whole new world with a totally different set of rules and pressures. And that's what sparks some pretty dramatic changes. And all of a sudden, it's not about tradition that's hundreds of years old. It's about survival and adaptation. The local butter is different, the flour acts weird, restaurants have to be quick, they have to be cheap. And, this is a big one, the American palate often wants more. More sugar, more richness, more salt, which is how you get that super intense cheesy onion soup we just saw. And, of course, just plain more of everything on the plate. This chart does a great job of showing us those different priorities. Now, these numbers aren't exact science, but they paint a really clear picture. French cuisine, it's built on a massive emphasis on tradition. American food culture, on the other hand, often puts a way higher value on convenience. And these aren't just, small preferences. They are powerful cultural forces that literally reshape every single dish that meets the journey. Okay, to make all of this a little less abstract, let's zoom in on one perfect example that I think we can all get behind: the croissant. First, let's talk about the French original. A real deal French croissant is basically a work of art. It's all about that unbelievably light, airy texture that literally shatters when you take a bite. And that magic? It comes from a very specific and very time-consuming technique. And here it is, that technique. It's called lamination. Basically, you're creating hundreds of paper-thin layers of dough and butter. It demands a special high-fat butter, lots of long, cool rest periods, and a super delicate touch. It's a process that's all about patience and precision, period. So here's the kicker. What happens when that super patient process meets the American demand for speed and for something you can use in different ways? Well, this slide breaks it down perfectly. The fat changes, sometimes to oil blends, just to make it easier to handle. The texture gets denser, a lot more like bread. And the flavor gets richer, which is all about getting it ready for its brand new job. And that new job is really the whole point. See, the American croissant isn't really supposed to be eaten by itself with a coffee. It was redesigned to be a vehicle, a buttery, solid foundation for a breakfast sandwich. So it's not a failed French croissant, it's a very successful American one. And this gets us to a really cool idea. At what point does an adaptation stop being just a copy and actually become its own authentic thing? You could probably argue it happens right here. Get this, 1981. That's the year the croissant sandwich officially hits the fast food mainstream. It's not just a little nod to a Parisian breakfast anymore. No, this thing is now a full-blown American icon with its own spot carved out in our food culture. And that right there is really the heart of it all. We have this tendency to think of these changes as a corruption of the original, right? But maybe a better way to look at it is like a conversation. A French idea is spoken, and American culture talks back with its own accent and its own priorities, creating something totally new in the process. So, all of this kind of forces us to step back and rethink what we even mean when we throw around a word like authentic.
And that's the big question I want to leave you with. Is authenticity only found in that original recipe, the one that's perfectly preserved like it's in a museum? Or can a dish find a new, equally real authenticity through the new story it tells and the new culture it becomes a part of? It's something to chew on next time you dig into that super cheesy onion soup or a croissant breakfast sandwich.